dive. If you've been paying any attention to the digital world, you know the fixation. Everyone is obsessed with getting these genius outputs from AI. We're all trying to find that secret key.
It really is the new literacy test, isn't it? And the internet's response has been, well, a colossal amount of noise about how to do it.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
You see the Twitter threads, the prompt marketplaces, those ultimate lists of 500 secret phrases.
Right.
And the assumption seems to be that if you just collect enough of these templates, you'll magically become an AI whisperer.
But there's a problem.
And you know this if you use these tools for your job. Despite all that effort, all that collecting, the results, for most people, just hit a very flat, very predictable plateau. The outputs feel okay, maybe even good, but they're never world-class.
That gap between good and exceptional, that is exactly where people get stuck, and they think, intuitively that the solution has to be a better prompt.
Some technical trick.
A better word. A hidden command they just haven't learned yet. But the sources we've looked at, they all point to a much deeper truth. They are missing the most critical layer.
And it has nothing to do with the AI model they're using.
Nothing at all.
Okay, so let's unpack that. If the tool is fine, and the prompt templates are supposedly the answer, where is the fault line? Where is this missing layer?
It lies entirely with the user. The core, almost. Well, brutal thesis of our deep dive today is this.
What's that?
The quality of your prompts can never exceed the quality of your thinking.
That's the invisible layer. It's the internal work, the cognitive prep that happens before your fingers even touch the keyboard.
Exactly. It's the mental model you bring to the machine. And it's the one thing beginners just never train.
So our mission today is to figure out how to stop chasing all these shortcuts and instead start upgrading the thinker.
Right. And to do that, we have to talk about the fundamental misconception at play here.
Which is that most beginners, when they approach AI, they treat it like a search engine or, a calculator.
They jump straight into typing. They see prompting as a shortcut, a way to delegate the hard cognitive work.
The planning, the structural thinking, all of it.
And that right there, that's the dividing line. An advanced AI user never treats prompting like just typing. For them, it's a cognitive skill.
A discipline.
A disciplined act of translation. The key insight is that prompting isn't just about inputting words. It is translating thought into structured intelligence.
Structured intelligence. I want to stay on that phrase for a second because it feels like it defines this whole conversation.
It does.
If I'm just thinking vaguely about a topic like, write me a marketing plan, and I just toss that into the prompt box, how does the AI even interpret that lack of structure?
Well, it creates what we call the clarity loop, or maybe more accurately, the fuzziness loop.
The fuzziness loop. I like that.
Because if your thoughts are unclear, disorganized, full of unspoken assumptions, your prompt will be exactly the same. The AI is a literalist. It can't read your mind.
You can't read your intent.
It can only process the clarity you actually provide. And the result is a vague, middle-of-the-road output that you then have to spend hours editing or refining
or just throwing away.
So the user gets frustrated, but the AI, it really never had a chance. The human input, the translation of the thought, was just fundamentally unsound.
So it's the classic garbage in, garbage out idea, but the garbage here isn't the data the AI trained on. It's the raw, unstructured thought from the user.
Precisely. And that forces us to deal with the input quality before it even hits the input box.
Right.
We have to look at what the source material calls the self layer.
Right.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because this isn't some technical template. It's an internal inventory.
And the sources are very clear about this. Yeah. The missing layer is explicitly not a technique, not a template, and not some kind of hack.
No.
It's the internal pre-prompt reflection. The conscious effort to achieve clarity inside your own head before you write the first word to the machine.
And that reflection, that provides the structure. It's the blueprint. The architect has to finish the blueprint before the builders, the AI, can start laying bricks.
So what does this internal clarity actually look like? If I'm sitting down to craft an important prompt, let's say for a presentation outline, what are the non-negotiable questions the advanced user asks themselves that the beginner just skips?
Okay, this is the meat of the deep dive. The 4 pillars of pre-prompt reflection. If you can adopt these, your output quality will jump almost immediately.
Let's hear them.
The first pillar is, what do I really want? And that forces you to be radically specific. The beginner thinks, I want a blog post about productivity.
Right, very general.
The advanced user asks, I want a 1,200-word persuasive essay arguing that task batching is better than the Pomodoro technique, and it needs to target software developers who are feeling burnt out.
Wow, that contrast is everything. The beginner prompt is a vague destination. The advanced one is a GPS coordinate, fully mapped out.
Yes, it shifts the burden of definition from the machine back to the user where it belongs.
So that's pillar one. What's the second?
The second pillar is, why does it matter? This is about context. It's about the objective. It's not enough to define the what. You have to define the purpose.
What's an example of that?
Well, are you writing this to persuade a CEO? To entertain a niche hobby group? Is it for regulatory compliance? If the AI doesn't know the purpose, it can't choose the right tone or depth or rhetorical strategy.
So this connects the request to a bigger goal.
Yeah.
If I tell the AI I need a script for a meeting, but I don't say the purpose is to convince the board to approve a $10 million project.
Then the output will treat it like a simple internal memo.
Exactly.
And that lack of purpose is a massive constraint on quality.
Okay, so what's the third pillar?
Now, the third pillar is crucial for escaping mediocrity. What outcome would feel exceptional? We're not aiming for satisfactory here. We are defining world-class from the outset.
If you don't define exceptional, the AI will just default to average.
It has to. So you have to define it internally before you even see the result. You imagine the perfect output and then you work backward.
So for a presentation, exceptional might mean the slides use strong visual metaphors, the tone is compelling.
And the argument builds to an undeniable conclusion. Exactly. Or for code, it means it's documented, it's efficient, it passes 90% of unit tests. You are setting a bar that is intentionally high.
And that forces the prompt itself to be just as rigorous.
It has to be. Which leads us to the final and maybe most structural pillar.
Which is?
What constraints define quality here?
Constraints. So the boundaries.
The boundaries are the blueprint for success. People mistake constraints for limitations, but in prompting, they are the very definition of quality.
Give me an example.
Must be under 800 words, must use the voice of a skeptical academic, must reference 3 historical events. Without those guardrails, the AI has no way of knowing the difference between a rough draft and a finished product.
That is powerful. So without that internal clarity, without defining those 4 pillars in your head, first world-class results are genuinely impossible.
Impossible. You could paste in the most complex technical prompt in the world, but if the foundation of your thinking is mushy, the output will be too.
The effort is on the human side. And that effort, that time spent clarifying, is exactly what most users are trying to shortcut.
Which brings us to the next logical question.
If this pre-prompt reflection is so critical, why do the vast majority of users skip it? Why are we stuck chasing template lists instead of upgrading the machine behind the keyboard?
We found 3 main reasons that beginners stay stuck in this cycle of prompt mediocrity. And they are all psychological, not technical.
Okay.
The first one is what we call the psychic assumption.
The psychic assumption.
Beginners assume the AI should just figure it out. They treat it like a magical mind reader, a genie that just knows their underlying, often vague intent.
They write a prompt like, fix this report, and somehow expect the AI to know that the real problem is the structure and the tone, not just the spelling.
Exactly. They assume a level of shared context that just isn't there. They fail to realize AI is not a psychic. It simply mirrors and amplifies the clarity you bring to it.
Vague in, vaguely helpful out.
Explicit in, brilliantly explicit out. The burden of context is always on the human.
Okay, so that's reason 1. What's the second?
The second is simpler, and it's really rooted in our modern digital behavior, the shortcut chase. It is just easier, and it gives you that temporary feeling of progress to collect lists and templates, to copy and paste someone else's thinking.
It's a dopamine hit. I got a new template.
Right. Versus the hard cognitive effort required to actually upgrade your own thinking. One is easy, the other is disciplined effort. People choose the path of least resistance.
And that leads to the third reason, which is maybe the biggest failure in how we teach AI literacy.
The discipline misunderstanding, absolutely.
Huh.
Prompting is so often taught like a cheat code, a secret handshake that unlocks power.
And if you believe it's a cheat code, you never bother to update the operating system of your own mind.
You don't. You miss the fact that high-quality prompting is a thinking discipline. It is fast becoming the new language of intelligence.
That's like thinking you can become a great musician just by studying the sheet music of other players, but you never actually practice your own instrument.
A perfect analogy. You have the external structure, but zero internal skill to execute it. You have to master the internal scales first.
So let's bring this full circle for everyone listening.
Yeah.
If we accept the central message here, that you don't need more prompts, you need a better internal prompting process. What's the actionable upgrade?
What's the habit we need to build?
Yeah.
The great news is this doesn't require hours of meditation. The recommendation from the source material is a very specific, very simple exercise.
Okay.
Before you write your next prompt, just sit with your goal for 30 seconds.
30 seconds. That's the cost of admission to escape mediocrity.
That's it. In those 30 seconds, you stop typing. You consciously engage with those 4 internal questions we talked about. What's the purpose? What would impress me? What are the constraints?
That pause that forces you out of the shortcut chase mindset and into the designer mindset. It makes you define what great looks like before you ask the AI to build it.
And if you do that consistently, that 30-second reflection, the promised result is that you will automatically outperform 90% of other AI users.
Not because of magical prompts.
But because of superior thinking directing the process.
You know, this is where it gets really interesting for me, connecting this back to broader human skills. The authors who discuss this consistently say prompt engineers shouldn't just study neural networks.
No, they should study designers and professional writers.
Which is a fundamental revelation.
It is. It suggests that high-quality prompting is not a purely technical skill. It's primarily psychological and structural.
Designers obsess over constraints, user empathy, desired outcomes. Writers obsess over structure, flow, tone.
Rhetorical intent. Prompting is simply leveraging those existing human skills through a new medium. It's using human intuition and structure to guide machine intelligence.
So circling back, the key takeaway is profoundly simple. Prompting isn't about learning what to type.
It's about learning how to think more clearly.
And how to translate that thought into a structured, defined request. When you upgrade the thinker, the prompts automatically upgrade themselves.
Because AI doesn't just amplify your words. AI amplifies your mind.
And that leads us to the final thought we want to leave you with.
That investment in your own internal cognitive process, that 30 seconds of reflection, is the ultimate competitive advantage. This knowledge acquisition isn't just about AI, it's an investment in your own mind, which AI will then amplify tenfold.
Because the revolution in AI isn't going to come primarily from the better models that are released every 6 months. I mean, those models are going to get smarter anyway.
The real revolution will come from better thinkers directing them. The only constraint left on world-class AI output is the quality of human input.
If you put in the effort to clarify your goals and constraints internally, you possess the ultimate currency in the age of intelligence.
Start by thinking.